how to learn animation. So I think that's an interesting title, an interesting topic that I've maybe not thought. I mean, I've thought about in the past so much, but maybe not thought about doing a video on because it's not such a technical video. So I just want to talk through the whole process for people who are maybe looking to get into animation, but also people who have started their journey on animation. They're maybe feeling like they're spinning their wheels a bit, or they've maybe made a wrong decision here or there, and things just aren't quite going how they had envisioned in their head. That they would just join this course and 6 months later they get their job offer from Pixar. But it doesn't usually work like that. Even, to be honest, even in some of the best courses or universities or just most recommended ways of learning animation. I don't know, maybe this video will be helpful for you, maybe it won't. We'll find out, I suppose. So I guess what you want to start with, obviously, if we're going on like a step-by-step, this is how you learn animation, is first of all, you want to choose your software. You want to choose your medium. So you might want to be a 2D animator, you might want to be a stop motion animator, and you might want to be a 3D animator. Now, you might, if you're a 3D animator, which I am, and probably if you're watching this software, if you're watching this video, then you might also want to be a 3D animator. Really, realistically, there's a couple of options right now. You can learn Blender, which is, by all accounts, a really great software. It's free, for one. Maya is definitely not free. It's actually quite painful how unfree it is. When I was learning animation, it was just a student license, and it was no real bother to just keep that going for as long as you need to learn how to use the software. I don't understand why they would charge people learning to use the software professionally, which just puts people off and it turns people to maybe Blender, even though the industry is so predominantly Maya based, or at least the things that are used in the industry are so similar to the way Maya works, I think. I'm not really sure. I've only ever worked in Maya, is my answer on that. So in my opinion, I'm going to say Maya is a pretty good place to be if you're someone who thinks they want to maybe follow a similar path to the one I've taken, which is becoming a professional animator, working as a day job doing animation. But that's not everyone's path. Some people just want to learn Blender and they just want to do independent stuff. Maybe they want to be a YouTuber, a YouTube animator, want to do Minecraft animations for a living. Everyone's different. And that's not me saying that YouTube animator is a valid career. Valid career? I guess, is animator a valid career? I don't know what a valid career is, but at least a viable career that makes sense for a lot of people to actually pursue. I think there's a very, very small amount of people who can make enough money to survive on through YouTube with animation, especially since YouTube really favors much longer content. Where were we? So choose some software, choose a medium. For this example, I will talk about Maya and 3D software. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter that much, I think. I think these things are software and medium agnostic, you know, being an animator. I went to university with 2D animators. In my first year of university, all of the games, VFX, 3D animation and 2D animation, I can't put a fourth thing up without making it. All 4 of the courses in the university that I went to, all were mixed. So everyone learned the same thing. So 2D animators learned 3D animation, 3D animators learned 2D animation, they learned VFX, they learned a bit of nuke, compositing and everything like that, which is actually a great way to go about things. I mean, for me, I went into university just liking art, not really having touched 3D software before, which I think is actually a massive risk, because if I went in and discovered that actually I hate being in 3D software all day, every day, then it would have probably been a bit of a waste of time and money to get there. So before you commit to something massive like that, I do think it's worth trying out some stuff on your own and, you know, going through the process of creating your own little project. And it might be frustrating because you're still learning like how to mess with the software, and it can be very overwhelming, the amount of tools and the power that you suddenly have when you go into a 3D or even 2D software for the first time, if you're just used to pen and paper or paint or sculpting with clay. You know, it can be daunting for sure. But give it a try. And I just think it's a big risk to go in without having touched any of that. But that's what I did. So if you want, you can just do that. It might work out fine. So yeah, once you've got your software, what do you do then? I think, like I said, try some things out. Try some 3D animation. If you think you want to be a character animator, then try that. If you haven't actually done character animation before, then you might not be sure that you actually want to do 3D character animation. And by character animation, I mean actual movement of the characters. Animation is kind of given this whole general term, but I'm specifically talking about character animation, which is the acting, the performance, and the movement of characters, rather than the modeling or lighting or rendering, which is kind of all just thrown in one bucket as animation. So my course that I did when I went to university was 3D animation, where we learned modeling, rigging, lighting, compositing, all of the things that go into creating a 2D image out of 3D software, basically. And the reason I mention learning about that stuff as well is if you really are just starting, which I'm sure not a lot of people watching this video will be, but if you are, how can you know for sure that you definitely want to be a character animator? You might go into it and decide, I really love lighting, and there's plenty of jobs in lighting as well. And you might enjoy the technical side a lot more. So for me anyway, I'm just speaking from my own personal experiences, which is all I can do really. But from my personal experience, trying out a bunch of things was really helpful for me to decide, I actually really enjoy the animation part of this whole animation stuff the most. I kind of had the choice of what I wanted to do. So I decided from there, thinking that I wanted to just do games art, whatever that means, like creating assets or creating environments. I actually realized I like animating. So that's kind of what I then pursued and really focused on. Now, by the end of this process, hopefully you have a couple of projects under your belt. You're at least getting the basics of using 3D software, or you at least kind of know a bit more about how to learn and how to interact with the resources that are out there. For example, with, Maya's doing something or exploding, kind of what to search for. And, you might not know all of the tricks and all of the secrets to creating perfect 3D animation. But, even having 10 years experience, you still need to Google things from time to time because software is kind of constantly changing and the problems you get are constantly new and different and challenging, which is part of the, fun of this career. Problems. Maya is not the easiest piece of software to work in, for sure. It has its own challenges, but it can be rewarding when you solve those challenges, I guess. Is it? Yeah, sure. So you've done a few projects, you've had a play, and this isn't the kind of thing that is maybe like a couple of days. This is, weeks, months. I hesitate to say years because why do I hesitate to say years? I think I hesitate to say years because by that point, you should kind of know what area, what specialism you want to go into. So by that point, hopefully you will have decided, within a year. We don't have to put a timescale on it. It could take you 10 years to decide that. It could take you a couple of months to decide, actually, this is what I really want to do. I'm wasting my time by doing all these other things. I just want to focus on this one thing. Because in this industry, yes, there are generalists. The generalists are, well, to be honest, just not something I'm super used to working with. The companies that I've worked on and the productions that I've worked on, TV shows, feature films, they all consist of massive teams of people. So it doesn't make sense for all of those people to be generalists. It makes sense for all of them to be good at one specific thing. It's the division of labor. Why make everyone a jack of all trades? Just have a bunch of skilled people at that one thing, like a factory. You don't have one robot doing all of the different parts. You have one robot. What does a robot do in a factory? You have one robot unscrewing a lid from a jar, one robot shooting, pickles into a jar, and one robot coming down and screwing the lid back up in a pickle factory, right? There's probably a lot of steps in between in a pickle factory, but who knows? Let me know if you do know. I'd love to know. So anyway, you've got a few projects under your belt and you've decided, okay, I want to pursue character animation. I love character animation. It's just great. You've really tried some things out and you're feeling a bit more comfortable with the software. So in doing these projects, some of them might be animation, doing basic animation exercises, bouncing ball, the little ball with a tail on it, or what are some basic, a point or a getting up from a chair, things like that. You'll also have done, maybe you've modeled something, you've lit a scene, you've done a little bit of basic rigging, you've just improved your understanding and given yourself at least a basic general knowledge of, I guess, a knowledge of the pipeline and where the skill that you've chosen fits in that pipeline. But things can overlap. So what you would do next is, I guess, focus and stick to animation and pursue that as what you're learning. So you decided, yes, I want to do animation. I want to pursue a career, or at least I want to get better at animation. I haven't fully decided I want to do this as a career, but you know, I like animation. I want to get better at animation. I want to learn animation. There's a lot of ways, to be honest. I did university, and like I said, it was more generalist. I then specialized in animation in the second and third year. And then after I graduated, I didn't immediately get a job. So I did an iAnimate creature workshop, because I thought all the jobs in London are VFX jobs. I want to be a creature animator. And since then, I have never worked on VFX. I've done some creatures, pointed the wrong way, but Maurice, some cats, plenty of cats actually. There's a lot of animated cats. There is a lot of animated cats out there. But then aside from university, there's also a lot of online courses. There's iAnimate, there's Anim School, there's Animation Mentor, of course. I won't list them all, but there's a lot of courses out there. And from what I see, if you know that you want to do character animation, I think they're a really good option. I think learning specifically how to do character animation rather than learning in a more generalist way that I did would definitely, I think, hold you in better stead for being an animator at the end of it, probably. But I don't know. I didn't do that. The only way of doing that would be to have two people exactly the same doing the same courses, right? Which is not possible, because no matter what, if it was the same one and you did one first and then the second one after, you would be a different person by the end of that course. You would have that knowledge from that first course. I guess you can go off the records of people actually getting jobs after those courses. But anyway, the online courses, they do a pretty good job. And then another way is just being self-taught. So there's plenty of books out there. There's the Animator Survival Kit. I'm not going to start listing off books now. I made that mistake with online courses, but there's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of YouTube channels, some pretty good ones as well. There's plenty of YouTube channels, and there's even free online courses. When I was learning, obviously I didn't just go to class, learn the animation from my class, and then go home. I was also reading the Animator Survival Kit. I was also, watching the videos from the Animator Survival Kit. They're really good. Check those out, definitely. Even if you're a really experienced animator watching this. I think that the overarching thing with all of the more paid for classes or universities or online schools is they all do one thing, which is they facilitate you doing the work. They're not spoon feeding you. They're giving you the skills. Well, they're not even giving you the skills. They're just giving you kind of a framework which works and historically has worked and should be enough to get you to where you want to be with animation. And it's all laid out in front of you so that you can then extract some knowledge from that, extract some inspiration from that, some get up and go and animate and just put in the work. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you did Animation Mentor but did no work, well, you're not going to get very far. But at the same time, if you did nothing but work and didn't have any knowledge to draw from, if you just decided, I want to be an animator, and then put in 20 hours a day, 4 hours of sleep for 10 years, I mean, you'd probably still get pretty good because you just learn it from working that much. But starting with some knowledge and implementing that just saves all of that trial and error that you would get if you just were really stubborn and I'm going to be self-taught and I'm just going to learn it all myself. I don't need Richard William. I don't need the 9 old men. I don't need Animation Mentor. I don't need university. I don't need owenferny YouTube channel. I think it's a combination of both. I think it goes, you get some knowledge, you put that knowledge into practice, and then there's another layer here, which we haven't discussed yet, which is getting feedback on that knowledge. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm gonna plug my feedback website at this part. I'm not. Why would you think that? I would never plug keyframecoach.com like that. Don't check that out after watching this video. You can get feedback from your peers, other people who are also learning animation, also keen to learn animation. I mean, there's plenty of people out there trying to be animators. So you may as well make friends with them, engage in the communities that they are in and help each other. There's really very little reason to just hermit away and work on your work silently and not show anyone. You're not going to get better from that. You do need feedback. And do you need feedback from other people? You could just feedback yourself, like the scenario we spoke about where one guy just animating 20 hours a day, 4 hours of sleep, 10 years. They're probably going to look at their work once in a while and say, that's pretty good, or that's pretty bad. Why is that bad? I should change that. That one time on day 5067, when I did that head turn for the 10,000th time, I did it like this, and now I'm doing it a different way and I don't like it. In a way, yes, you can give yourself feedback, but I would argue that you're not going to get feedback that is as valuable as feedback from someone else. There's different tiers of feedback, if you like. You could, I guess, tier 1, or F tier, is you asking yourself for feedback, doing this weird little loop where you go, what do you think of that, Owen? And he goes, it's pretty good. You could do this better. And you go, good job, Owen. You're absolutely right. God, we're just going to be the best animator ever one day, and no one's going to know. They don't know I can animate just as good as Glenn Keane. They don't know. What's the point? Why would you want to do that? Don't hide away and just do animation like a weird hermit, please. Unless you want to, that's fine, I guess. If you just want to do it for you. But, certainly if you want to pursue this as a career, it's not advisable to just hermit away until you finally get that job. Show your work to people and take their feedback. Now, I guess the next tier up is people who aren't animators. Those people looking at your work have a fresh eye on it, which is so valuable. So yes, you maybe know more about animation than them, but if you show, I don't know, a parent or just a friend who isn't interested in animation, they will have seen some movement, even if they've never watched a film, even if they've never watched a TV show or any kind of animation ever. They're going to have a reaction to that. And that is feedback, right? If they go, oh, he moved a bit weird through there, or, oh, the chicken felt a bit strange when he did the flip. Why is that? You can go, okay, I'll look at that, and you can get better from that. I think getting feedback from a range of places is the best thing for you. And I'm not saying if you're an animator, you need to constantly go and ask your mum, look at my animation, tell me what's bad about it, because, well, she might just get a bit annoyed by that over time, to be honest. But what's the next tier? The next tier, I guess, is your peers, people who are at a similar skill level to you, people who are interested in animation, in learning animation, and in developing a critical eye of animation. And then after that, you have industry professionals, someone who's got some experience in the industry, someone who maybe even has some teaching experience or mentoring experience. And there's loads of people out there. Some of them are paid. You might have a friend who's in the industry willing to just give you feedback for free. You can post your work online. Professionals might have a look at it. You can, join some Discords. There'll be more experienced animators than you in there. But the point is, you can get feedback from a bunch of places. So that's kind of the last thing in the recipe of how to learn animation. First of all, you start with the knowledge. So that might come from, the Animator Survival Kit. It might come from watching a YouTube tutorial. It might come from watching how to animate for beginners in Maya. Or it might come from, a very structured, laid out program. What's much more important than any of that, in my opinion, and I think in everyone's opinion who is an animator or who even wants to be an animator or who's seen any improvement in their work whatsoever, not even just animators, any kind of artist, is the practice that you put into it and the work that you put into it. If you're not putting in a lot of hours into actually practicing animation and producing work, actually doing projects and saying to yourself, I'm going to do this project and I'm going to get it done. And then after that, I'm going to do another project. And after that, I'm going to do another project. Especially when you're first starting out, you don't want to get too detailed with your projects. Obviously, animation is a very meticulous, detailed thing. But I think also when you're starting out, the learning is a lot faster paced. So getting too precious about things too quickly, you kind of can end up polishing a turd, really. you might have something which really just isn't working at all, and you're really trying to polish it and work out all the arcs. And, it's not necessarily time wasted because you're probably still gaining some stuff from that, but it's probably better to finish 10 projects in, 1 week each rather than finish one project in 10 weeks when you're first starting out. Once you're more experienced and you're trying to put, work on your demo reel and you're working on things where you really want to show that you have a great eye, you're very proficient in animation, and, you're seriously doing stuff for your portfolio to make people go, that is someone who I can hire as an animator, then it's worth spending time on, sure. But when you're starting out, you really just want to repeat the process, go through all of the stages of animation, and you're going to learn way more from doing that on repeat a bunch of times rather than drawing one thing. I say drawing because I'm thinking of the analogy of, learning to draw, where I watched a video the other day, which was great advice because I want to get better at drawing. I think that will help me in my animation career. And it's kind of where I started, I started by liking drawing. That's how I originally got into doing animation. I was watching this good video anyway, where this guy was talking about how to learn to draw. He says, look at something and then draw it, and look at something, draw it, look at something, draw it. And each time kind of evaluate what you've done and move on to the next drawing, and do like 20 drawings, all of the same thing. You actually learn how to draw that thing then and be able to draw it from memory a lot easier than if you just spent all of that time where you've drawn something really quickly and really, tried to memorize how to draw that and improve each time with each drawing and experiment with things. I think that kind of lends itself quite well to animation. So do a lot of passes, make a lot of mistakes. That's how you learn. You see what's bad and, you go, oh, okay, I'm going to try this other thing. Oh, okay, the camera felt a bit wide on this shot. Next time, I'm just going to push in a bit and see how that feels. Okay, maybe I went too close. Maybe I'll just move it out a bit. Hey, that feels pretty good. What if I try just adjusting this little thing? And, you don't have to mess with your cameras all the time in every animation shot you do, but it's just small details in all of the shots, just gradually over time, animating a whole bunch of different shots, I think will make you a better animator in the long run versus just doing one shot. Talking forever. I guess that's kind of the crux of it. That's how to learn animation. Find places to get knowledge from. Learn from lots of different sources. So if you do choose to go down the university route, for example, don't just say, okay, I'm going to just do exactly what they tell me at university. I've made this mistake in the past. I just tried to do exactly what they told me, and by the end of it, I'm not getting the job. And people who have just done what they felt was right and, researched outside of university a bit more, they've ended up getting jobs. So where I was being like a stickler for, right, I must do this, must make sure I've got this thing in my reel and this thing in my show reel, maybe that wasn't actually the way to go, and maybe that just made my portfolio a bit devoid of any kind of my own personality that I could put into that. I think I went on a tangent there, didn't I? So gather knowledge from lots of different sources, lots of different YouTubers, books, courses, online schools, universities, whatever you want. It's self-taught. I'm just going to grind it out and I'm going to be better than Glenn Keane. I don't care how I get there. I'm not going to look at any animators around. Just whatever you do, get some knowledge and put that knowledge into practice. Churn out some animation, show it to people, take that work that you've done and then get some feedback on that work. And it's not so much like a step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. And then step 10 is you're an animator and you're an animation director for Disney. It's all of these things kind of happen at the same time. You're gaining a bit of knowledge. You watch a YouTube video, you read a page of a book, you do a bit of work, you get some feedback on maybe a different piece of work you're doing. Maybe you're working on a few different shots at the same time. Maybe you're getting some knowledge by experimenting with other things. Maybe you're experimenting with Unreal, you're experimenting with using Blender. What's the point in sticking to Maya? Maybe, that YouTuber guy said use Maya because it's industry standard, but, Blender's getting better. So who knows? Just gain knowledge. So if this was of any help to you, let me know. I also would love you guys to leave some comments about other videos that I could make. You could also join the Discord, and I've got a little channel in there for questions, which I would love to, yeah, just kind of do a one-to-one thing where I just sit down and answer some questions, kind of go through my own thoughts as well. I learn things through doing this. So yeah, I'd appreciate you guys' feedback, because I've just, I watch a YouTube video on how to do this sort of thing. I get some knowledge. I'm right now practicing, and I need you guys to give me feedback. Speaking of feedback, keyframecoach.com. There's not kind of one path that you must take, one thing you must do to become an animator. And I hope that gets across in this video. This is the longest outro of all time, but another reason I think this video is hopefully helpful. Why is this video helpful? Oh, because everyone I've met, at least in animation, has a different path. Even if they seem a bit similar, like, oh, this person went to this university and this person went to the same university, therefore I should go to that university. There's also a ton of people who didn't go to that university. There's a ton of paths you can take, and everyone in animation takes a different path to get there. So I would say absolutely don't think, oh, I need to follow Owen's path and what he's done to become a professional animator. Find your own path. Whatever path you're on, don't blame that path if things don't go right. You are in control of that, and it's kind of up to you to make that path the successful path that everyone has to take to become a successful 3D animator. The one thing you really can control is the amount of work that you put into it, and yeah, control your own destiny. All right, so I thought I would change things up a bit and just try one of these slightly more one-to-one feeling videos. Don't know if that's the correct term for it, but rather than doing the crazy editing and stuff, I mean, I might still do the crazy editing on this video. We'll see, won't we? All right, I'm definitely gonna have to do some videoing. I'm tired. I'm definitely gonna have to do some editing in this video, so it won't just be the one take handy that I was going for. But it was fun. I enjoyed doing this. I'll probably put it up. If you're seeing this, then I did. See you later.